battle for us.
Charlton Heston was a larger-than-life man on and off the silver screen. In his 60-year movie career, he played Moses, the iconic American rugged individualist cowboy, astronaut George Taylor in the sci-fi Hollywood franchise Planet of the Apes, and Ben-Hur, for which he won an Academy Award. Charlton Heston was indeed a man for all seasons.
I remember when my son was 5 years old, he stood up in front of his kindergarten class, as each pupil was asked to do, and tell what his father did for a living. And he said, my daddy pretends to be people, and I guess that's what I do. It's been suggested that I'm not a 20th century man, and I suppose that's true. Certainly my career has been spent mostly in any century but the 20th. And I've played the great parts, the great figures from history, which I find more interesting than people today.
Charlton Heston was born John Charles Carter on the 4th of October, 1923, in Evanston, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. And as a young boy, he grew up in a remote part of Michigan.
I went to a one-room school with 13 pupils in 8 grades. And aside from hunting and fishing and trapping and canoeing and the things boys do in Michigan, I did a great deal of reading. And like all kids, I played pretend games. All children do that. They're instinctively actors, if you like, performers in the stories they play out. When my parents divorced and my mother remarried, we moved to a suburb of Chicago.
He also stopped seeing his father because he felt so self-conscious of the fact that he was from that kind of a, quote, divorced family background.
I had access to the best, what was then regarded as the best public high school in the United States, New Trier High School in Winnetka, Illinois. And the only extracurricular activities I could take part in, that I was equipped for, were the rifle team and the chess club. Nonetheless, they did have an extraordinary, for a high school, an extraordinarily well-developed theater program. They even had a radio program, obviously just in the school.
After graduating high school, Heston enrolled in Northwestern University. It was there that he met the love of his life and his future wife, acting student Lydia Marie Clark. They were married in 1944.
My first contact with Charlton Heston took place in a class at Northwestern University called Fundamentals of Theater Practice B40. And I had at that time long black hair, and a lot of it. And all of a sudden I felt my head swing back, and I realized that the student behind me was literally pulling my hair. He claims at this point that he was merely caressing it.
The same year as his marriage, Heston enlisted in the United States Army Air Force. He served for 2 years as a radio operator and aerial gunner aboard a B-25, eventually reaching the rank of Staff Sergeant.
When I came back from the war, and my wife and I went to New York, and when you consider the odds, both of us began to work fairly early. Lydia got a Broadway job about the same time I did. She in the female lead in Detective Story in a long run, and I Catherine Cornell's production of Antony and Cleopatra, which was an ideal first experience for an actor. And of course, to start in Shakespeare is to start at the top.
After taking minor roles on stage in New York City, the new medium of television finally opened up doors for the 27-year-old Heston. The year was 1950.
The best thing that happened to me was live television. I cannot imagine another development that was so significant to actors as live TV.
In 1950, I was publicity director for an independent production company called Hal Wallis Productions. We signed a young actor out of New York named Charlton Heston, and I was assigned the job of going to the airport to meet him and welcome him in. He was wearing a blue suit, a very tired blue suit, which I guess was his only sincere suit at the time, and the pants were a little thin, and I was a little hesitant about inviting him to come to lunch with me at Romanoff's. Nonetheless, we did. We sat down, we saw Spencer Tracy across the room eating strawberries, and Chuck marveled. This must be heaven, he said.
As a result, Heston made his film debut in the 1950 film noir, Dark City.
My first film was what would now be a movie of the week on television. It was actually not bad. My second film was, of course, for DeMille, the circus picture, which won the Academy Award, and I think deserved it.
C.B. DeMille saw in Chuck the potential of a very exciting and a very active, dynamic leading man.
If you play only the big cities, you'll cut the heart right out of this show. Boy, look at that guy. But under the big top, one performer's just like another to me.
You've got nothing but sawdust in your veins.
I've scraped too many of you kinkers up from the sawdust.
It probably is his best picture. He caught the color, the feel of the circus in a way that I think no other director could have done. And of course, for me to star in the film, especially in such distinguished company as Jimmy Stewart, who played the clown.
Hey, Brad, this might help. Too small.
I came into film at an historic turning point. I wasn't the first, Marlon was the first, but I was then the second actor to have a non-exclusive contract. Hal Wallis gave that to me, and I could do plays, I could go back into television, which I did, unheard of for movie actors at the time. And I could do films for other studios, which I did.
4 years after Cecil B. DeMille's 1952 film, The Greatest Show on Earth,
The Lord Moses, Prince of Egypt.
Heston would be cast as Moses in another of the great director's Hollywood extravaganzas, The 10 Commandments.
He had a grand voice and a grand figure.
Hear, O Israel, remember this day when the strong hand of the Lord leads you out of bondage. Behold his mighty hand.
He had a very hard role to play in 10 Commandments because DeMille, he had put such restrictions on Chuck that, I mean, Chuck couldn't smoke in public because, after all, he was playing Moses.
I found DeMille an extraordinary man to work for. He was, of course, one of the guys that invented the movies, along with Griffith and von Stroheim. Ten Commandments was, of course, an enormous opportunity for me. The experience I've had in epic films is, of course, very special.
That's what you think.
2 years later, it was time for an entirely different role for Heston, as the lead in one of the last and greatest film noir classics, Orson Welles' Touch of Evil.
Orson Welles was the most talented man I ever met in film. He was the quintessence of creative capacity.
In any free country, a policeman is supposed to enforce the law, and the law protects the guilty as well as the innocent.
Our job is tough enough.
It's supposed to be. It has to be tough. A policeman's job is only easy in a police state. That's the whole point, Captain. Who is the boss, the cop or the law?
I like to feel that it's my job as an actor to please the director. But Orson made that a collaborative undertaking. Much of film acting, it consists of going up and down stairs and getting in and out of cars or on and off horses, depending on the film. And if you have a great part, there are probably only 3 great scenes in the part. But Orson somehow was able to persuade you that whatever setup you were doing just happened to be the most important part of your role, indeed, perhaps, of the whole film.
Well, Captain, I'm afraid this is finally something you can't talk your way out of.
You want him back?
In the same year, Heston took on a minor role in William Wyler's Western, The Big Country.
My part was about the 5th part, really. And I said to my agent, you know, I know this is a good piece and it's major director, but I'm a little tired and I think I'll pass on this. He said, you're out of your mind. He said, this is, actors take parts for Wyler without even reading the script. Do the picture.
I'm Steve Leach, foreman at Ladder Ranch.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. You know, I was beginning to think I was in the wrong town.
I don't know as I'd wear that hat too long around here, Mr. McKay.
Oh? Why not?
Yeah, one of these wild cowboys might take it into his head to shoot it off you.
Chuck's part was to dislike me at first sight and to do everything he could to make life miserable for me. First of all, in his mind, we were rivals for the same girl, Carol Baker, and badgered me and goaded me on, tried to get me to live up to his idea of the macho code of the Old West. In those days, a lot of people who worked for Willie Wyler ended up with Oscars. He was probably the leading director of Oscar winners in Hollywood at that time.
And it was a good picture, and I think that's why Willie, when he decided to do Ben-Hur, cast me in Ben-Hur.
The story of Judah Ben-Hur, the prince who became a slave and dared the evil might of the conqueror.
I tell you, the day Rome falls, there will be a shout of freedom such as the world has never heard before.
Well, actually, Ben-Hur was a relatively easy performance for him. He more or less played himself, if he were a first-century Jewish prince, you know. I think learning to drive the chariot was really a challenge for him. When he was practicing learning how to handle 4 horses behind a chariot, which is something of a trick, I want to tell you. And he did most of that himself. And he said to 𝐂𝐴𝐸𝐿, who was helping him learn it, but what happens when there are 10 other teams and we're racing around this corner? And 𝐂𝐴𝐸𝐿 said, oh, don't worry, Chuck. He said, you just stay in the chariot. You're going to win the race, I'll guarantee you.
Charlton Heston, Ben-Hur.
Someone asked me, they said, are you drawn to playing men who fail at what they try to do? And I can't deny it when you look at some of the 60-odd films I've made. I've failed in a lot of them. The Fall of a Great Man, Mark Antony and Antony and Cleopatra, General Gordon in Khartoum.
I don't really think that there is one particular character that he has played that is not him. He made Judah Ben-Hur. He made 𝐂𝐴𝐡𝐚𝐫𝐥𝐭𝐨𝐧, the seed.
Do you swear that you had no part by way of design in King Sancho's death? Swear it! If you are forsworn.
The man you chose to love could do only what I did.
Why did you come, Rodrigo? Did you think the woman you chose to love could do less than you?
But my love won't die.
Kill it.
You kill it! Open the gate!
Now, it doesn't necessarily follow that he would enjoy being a tragic figure or some such thing as that, but he has it in him to understand that, the idea of tragic loss or of making an ultimate sacrifice, of enduring great pain or suffering.
Always active in politics, in the 1950s, Heston was a supporter of liberal democratic positions. And in 1965, he was elected president of the Screen Actors Guild Labor Union.
Chuck did a very, very fine job for the Screen Actors Guild. I think in terms of longevity, he served longer than anyone, with the possible exception of Ronnie Reagan.
I had made a film called Harlow, and I was in a dispute with the producer of that film, and he had decided that he was going to make me knuckle under and do another film for him, and one of the ways he was going to make me knuckle under was by not paying me. So I called Chuck, and he stopped by my house that very morning that I called him, and I told him the story, and he said, "Hey, that doesn't exist. According to the Screen Actors Guild contract, no producer can do that to you. You finished the work, you deserved your salary, and I'm going to see to it that you get it." And by God, I had it 2 days later, in full.
Over time, Heston's politics changed, and he became an avid Republican supporter and a spokesperson for the National Rifle Association.
Oh, Chuck and I are good friends, and we have been for a long time. We have a lot in common. We both had worked for the great Catherine Cornell on the stage at one time. There are things we haven't had in common. As far as I know, we never supported the same presidential candidate. Chuck does these spots on television for the National Rifle Association. I don't understand why he does that. On the other hand, I'm a card-carrying member of the ACLU, and I'm sure Chuck doesn't understand that very well.
Selma sprang overnight from an obscure southern town to the front pages of world newspapers.
Although I suppose some people think of him as an extreme conservative Republican, let us not forget that Chuck went south and marched during the Civil Rights Movement and marched on Selma.
At the same time in 1965, he went to work for young Sam Peckinpah on the director's first large-budget movie.
Major Dundee was Sam Peckinpah's first major studio film, and I'd make it for him again. It's a flawed film, but it has some marvelous stuff in it.
Court-martial!
Why don't you find a horse and mount up, Lieutenant Graham? You don't seem to be doing very well on foot.
Captain Tyreen, does the prospect of serving under your country's flag once again seem more attractive than dragging its chains in this prison?
And I would rather hang than serve.
But only until we have caught the Apache. And then, Major, I am going to kill you.
Are you, Ben?
Major Dundee started to creep up over budget. I had to go down to visit him on another project that we were doing together. The studio was about to shut the production down. Chuck was on the phone and he said, tell you what, let Sam do his extra 10 days, finish the picture, do the extra 10 days, and you don't have to pay me the last installment of my salary. And I said to Chuck, are you crazy? You're going to give up your salary so that they can finish the picture? They're going to finish it anyhow. He said, oh, they'll never take me up on it. About 2 hours later, he got a call from his agent, Herman Citron. Said, you silly bastard, what have you done? I just got a call from the studio. They're not going to pay you your last installment.
In 1965, Heston also played two more iconic historical figures, John the Baptist in The Greatest Story Ever Told, and Michelangelo in The Agony and the Ecstasy. But perhaps Heston's most enduring role is that of the astronaut in the 1968 screen adaptation of Planet of the Apes, an American science fiction media franchise about a world where humans and intelligent apes clash for control of the planet.
I like to feel that I was in the first space opera, Planet of the Apes. I remember Arthur Jacobs. He had no script. He had the rights to an obscure French novel about an astronaut stranded on a planet inhabited by intelligent monkeys of various species. Arthur would call and say, well, we've got it at Fox now again. And I'd say, well, didn't they turn it down? He said, yeah, but that's new people there now. New people, we're going to run it by them again. And I know it was at every studio, and they all said, talking monkeys, rocket ships, Buck Rogers, Ming the Merciless. Come on, get out of here. You're crazy. But the time was ripe for it, and we made it.
A planet where apes evolved from men? There's got to be an answer.
Don't look for it, Taylor. You may not like what you find.
Chuck was always aware that some of the decisions that he made about which pictures to appear in were not necessarily going to be box office bonanzas.
Such was the case with Will Penny, made in the same year as Planet of the Apes.
The idea of doing a Western was not popular. And a friend of mine, whose name was Tommy Grives, was a director-writer. And Tommy had written about 30 pages of a Western screenplay, not cowboys and Indians, not shoot 'em up, but a story of overaged cowboys, one particular overaged cowboy. And I was knocked out by it because I felt it was a very honest and a very forthright and a very unusual picture of the West.
What's your whole name, Will?
Penny. Will Penny.
You got any family?
No.
Joan Hackett is superb in it. It's not a large picture, but it's a very good one.
But it's too late, Kath. Too late for me. I ain't a good gamble for you.
5 years after Planet of the Apes, Heston found himself in another science fiction classic, Soylent Green, playing the role of a detective in a dystopian future collapsing from pollution, overpopulation, and depleted resources.
Out of Chuck's concern about what he thinks is the world's #1 problem, and that is overpopulation, came Soylent Green. The relationship between Chuck and Eddie Robinson during Soylent Green was a very poignant one to watch. Eddie was unfortunately dying at the time. He knew it, we knew it, and a very warm relationship sprung up between them.
I never ate like this. And now you know what you've been missing.
Chuck's warmth was reflected by Robinson's return affection and warmth. And I think it was that magic that happened between them that made the picture as successful as it was.
On? Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, dear God.
I've left you long.
No.
I love you, Thornton.
I love you so.
Heston continued acting right up until his announcement in 2002 that he had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease.
He could have developed one role, been typecast, and done the same thing over and over again, but he never wanted that. He always wanted a challenge.
And most of the men I've played believe that too. In a sense, my work has been my education, and I am the better for it.
Charlton Heston passed away on April 5, 2008, at the age of 84, having been in life and on the screen a man for all seasons.